this week I'm joined by D&D And Dave, who is on Facebook, and you want to go and check out his channel, his Facebook channel, and join it. Hello, Dave.
Good evening.
So, you don't have a YouTube channel. I don't know what else to ask you about specifically. We said we'd just have a talk. Two guys who love the game and probably have gripes about it. I think I should start with saying, tell me about your relationship with this game.
With Fifth Ed, because Fifth Ed is where it really kicked off with me. It happened during the wonder that was the pandemic that we all were slowly going mad through. I just had the birth of my first son 6 months before. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I was indoors and I was licking the windows, and I just randomly came across a post for an advert for Hero Forge, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to sit and just create something to have a break in my mind. And I'd just seen this ad, and I was setting that up, and then a couple of posts lower was an ad for D&D Beyond, and it was kind of like, it's free and you can make a character, and I went, yeah, I'll do that. And so I sat there and did that, and then I was kind of like, actually, I used to do RPGs. Why don't I get back into it? And that was kind of the start. And then you had the next 2 months of trying to find an online game where there were so many people and not enough DMs. And I got into a game, and it kind of snowballed from there. And then I became a DM, and then I set up a Facebook page just to kind of share bits and pieces and memes and games that I run and bits of news and all kinds of things. So yeah.
Well, what's your history then? What RPGs did you used to play?
Way back when I got kick-started with Werewolf the Apocalypse back in the 90s. And that's where it all started while I was in school. We had a really, really cool science teacher, and he did card games and RPGs, and we all used to go and hang out in this comic and card shop, which had this thing called Werewolf the Apocalypse. I'm big into paranatural fantasy and horror and things like that, and I was kind of like, I want in on that. And so I just bought the books. They were all like a $5 at the time, and so that was the 90s, and then it led on to Vampire the Masquerade and Horus Heresy and a bit of Star Wars. So there's been bits and pieces thrown in. And then it all went quiet because I got very busy with work. And then, 15 years went by and the pandemic or something. So, yeah.
I don't really know why it managed to take off so much during COVID. I mean, it wasn't advertised more. I mean, it is ideal, isn't it? But
I think there's probably going to be quite a few people like me who saw an ad. It was a sponsored ad on Facebook that got me looking into it. There were people who were sitting on YouTube for a lot of time who might have come across Critical Role or one of those other groups who were doing it and just went, oh, you know what? I need something to do with my time. And so they got on board. The community does seem to have exploded in like the last 4 years, which is absolutely wonderful for the new people coming in or the people coming back to it. But you do also get a lot of the old beardy blokes who are kind of like, oh, no, new people and community and, oh, no, spoiling it all and stuff like that. So it's a balancing act. You just keep on smiling, nodding and going, right, well, I won't be playing with you then, will I?
I am jealous, of those guys who have been doing it ages, and I hope to be a 5th edition version of that, 10 years' time. Be like, I remember the old 2014 Player's Handbook, but I'm not going to be possessive about it. I really think it's more of a tool for mental health than it gets credit for,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think for me personally, and I'm not kidding when I was saying I was fit to lick windows during the lockdown. That break, even though it was sitting at a computer on, a Saturday night for 3 hours, for those 3 hours, I was someone else. And I didn't have the day in, day out. I was a druid and I was dragonborn and I was finding myself in a fantasy realm and trying to, and it was brilliant. And a lot of people work through things in their game. A lot of people who I've played with or who have come to my table have also been using it as an escapism from the day to day where the grind is getting a bit too much, and it's kind of like brilliant. One of the guys who comes to my Wednesday game every single Wednesday without fail goes, "Oh, I really need this." That's his opening words. He turns up at the table and goes, "Oh, I really needed this week," and it's kind of like brilliant because actually I think we all do.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if it is it a social thing. I know, right, a lot of people who play D&D aren't, they're introverted. They're not naturally sociable people. It's kind of, we get thrust into together with strangers a lot of the time who become friends. And so I don't think those people are looking for a social outlet. I'm dying to mix with other people. It's not that, is it? It's, I don't know, it's like coming down a corridor and other corridors just put you next to other people. It's like forced socialising, but it's not that what they go looking for. So it's the escapism, isn't it, more than anything? It's the shrugging off your work and your family problems. It's like I say, it's like therapy, but for people who don't play D&D, I know there are other similar things, but for those people who just like watch football or build shelves, I guess they have a similar release, but I just don't think it's as good. That's my opinion.
I think it comes to being able to switch off a part of your brain, because the other thing, and it's going to sound a bit old dad sad of me, I love gardening, and that switches off that part of the brain as well, and I'm just connecting with something else, something that's beyond me and bigger than me. And for me, getting into D&D, I'm a ridiculous person when it comes to social interaction because I love it. And so I love being the DM. I love doing voices, making things up on the fly and creating stories. In a past life, I ran a toy shop. In a past life, I worked in primary education. So I've always been quite comfortable around people. But the people who end up at my table are quite an interesting mix. We have those. One guy who's been gaming at my tables for about a year and a half now, I think it is. And he is not as social, and he'll sit there and he won't do a lot of the characterization, but he really enjoys getting out. And I think it's what all nerds, geeks, whatever term people want to label, it's about having a shared interest, and that kind of forces a social aspect on you, depending on how much you want to be involved with that. Whether you want to sit at the table and roll dice and just say, I'd like to just do that, or whether you want to say, my goblin character wants to pull out his bow and I'm going to fire it, and do all the voices and everything. So we attract all kinds, and I think that's the release for everyone.
And I think that evolution of character that the players put forward does increase as they get more comfortable with, your first game module might be 9 months, and like you're saying, it's like I fire my bow, I just, and then the next thing you know, the character story is all a bit more involved, and the character flourishes, and like you say, then they're doing a little bit of a voice. It's like, it's all right, it's a safe space to look stupid, and the more you put in, the more you get out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's people like you and I who, for whatever reason, it occupies more space in your mind, so that just playing it's not enough. You want to be a DM, and a DM, it's every hour of your life. It's not just game time. It's continual. Then you start your Facebook page and a YouTube channel. It's something like, I'm so focused on this. I need somewhere to put hey, I'm thinking about this right now. Are you thinking about this?
Because it stops us going up to random people in the street and going, hey, have you heard about Dungeons and Dragons? It's amazing. Yeah. And they're just kind of like, back off, you weirdo. So we have to find that kind of outlet where we know we are going to attract and bump into other people whose crazy aligns with our crazy, for want of a better term.
Yeah, I have shared D&D with family members and friends who aren't particularly nerdy. I managed to, corral them into trying it once or twice. And although they don't play now, the consensus was, yeah, that is fun, and I can see why you do it. So
Okay.
it's not just like a really niche thing that you either like or you don't. It's like, oh no, I can see why that would be fun. I have other things to do. Do you have a favourite edition then? Is it strictly 5?
It's very much fifth E because that's where I've come back to.
Mm.
But a few months ago, 6 7 months ago, I was bringing stuff out my dad's loft, my parents' place, and I came across a box set of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And I vaguely remember back in the annals of history being gifted that with my brother one Christmas. And the box had been opened but never played
Yeah.
because there was so many other games going around at the time. There was Hero Quest and Dark World, and we were just getting into Warhammer Fantasy at the time. So it got opened, it got looked at, and it never got interacted with. So it's now sitting in my cupboard where one day I will sit down and meticulously go through these things. But 50 is where I've kind of stepped in at. And I enjoy it for the most part. There are some things we homebrew, some things that I think were slimmed down too much, having heard the older beards talking about aspects of the game, and you go, yeah, why isn't there willpower? You should have some kind of willpower, and I've thrown that kind of made up homebrew rule in. So, but it's a good addition. I enjoy it. My players enjoy it.
Yeah, I was going to say expand on that because one of my questions was house rules, homebrew. So, why is it not just a charisma save, or what is you?
There's a lot of things. Charisma I see as literally being charismatic, or like the deception being deceptive. It's a personal skill. Willpower I see as more of a mind aspect. So there are things like it's the force of your personality, it's the self-assurance you have, it's your mental fortitude, aspects like that, where you go, yeah, charisma is what you can put across. I've known some wonderfully charismatic people who are actually quite shy and a bit reserved, where you go, wow, you're so charismatic, you must be, and they're kind of like inside their heads, they're going, no, 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 no. I can just put on a front. And that's where I think, the distinction between something like willpower and charisma could come in, because people can act without necessarily being the mentally strong individual. Like you'd assume a paladin is, because they're devoted to their faith and they're often role played as slightly blinded characters, got the blinkers on, black and white and nothing in between. So they're going to have quite a large willpower, where other characters, maybe someone who's mercenary, might not, because it's about the money and they're not trying to prove anything to themselves and they're not holding to any particular ideal bar coin.
So what else have you got then? House rules. How would you do crit damage? How do you do coming back from 0 hit points?
Crit damage, I use Roll and Play Press's small book of tables, and my players love it. In session 0, I always give my players the option. Do you want the monsters to do crit damage? Because they can. Do you want to do a crit fail? Because you can. And most people go, you know what, I think we're fine. Because at level 2, a bugbear crit on you and you're dead. Very dead. But I posted a meme about dragons being able to swallow people. Got a huge response and a lot of chat about that. And I was kind of like, right, okay, that is going into the next adventure. If a creature, because I've just been using flesh melts, we're playing Shattered Obelisk on a Monday, I run that. And I was kind of like, yeah, if a flesh melt can do it, what else can do it? Why can't it do it? When really a gargantuan creature against something that's medium-ish, but that thing's chugging you back, no problem. Right, next campaign, we're having big thing, gargantuan things will be able to swallow you. Not insta-death, but you'll have a chance to get out. But and so it's just random little things. Sometimes something will come up, and I'll just go, no, that doesn't really sit right for me. Let's do something else. Let's add an acrobatics role into that instead of just making it a straight thing, because we want to vary it around a bit. So yeah, it's whatever basically comes into my mad little mind at the time.
Yeah. And do you find that you're all right with players coming back on one health and then beating the hell out of the enemy as if they'd not been just been unconscious a second ago?
I don't worry about it too much, because on the one hand, there is an aspect of realism about the game. There's physics and everything. On the other hand, when you've got magical potions, and to be fair, most of the people who come back or make it back have either just been force-fed a magic potion or been healed by magic. For me, that removes the boundaries. It's not like us being knocked down in the street and suddenly going, oh yeah, I'm up and fine. No, there's been some kind of magical intervention invariably. So I go, why wouldn't magic start? It's healing your wounds as much as revitalizing you. It is also healing your wounds. So your broken leg isn't broken anymore. Okay, fair enough. And I'm cool with that, as long as the players understand this door swings both ways. So whatever they do with the pick me up spells, the bad guys will be able to do equally, and that's cool by me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do try and give my monsters the same things the players have. Just like when they say, can I aim for the eye? I say, well, can they aim for the eye? If this monster's going to be around for 10 minutes, you've got 10 months. Do you want to have one eye for 10 months? You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, if you want to do it, do it. But it swings both ways, as you say. Do you prefer being a DM then, or do you play as well?
It's a good question, actually. I play as well. I'm in a Curse of Strahd game on Saturday night. That's played online, and I run 2 during the week. I got into DMing because there were no games around. I'd signed up for a game, it fell through. Signed up for a game, it fell through. I started playing in an online game that lasted about 4 weeks before the DM ghosted. I signed up for another game that fell through, and I went, right, I've had enough. If I'm going to get to play in any aspect, I'm going to have to DM. And so that's what I did. And I've got about 16 characters in case someone dies in Curse of Strahd written up. I just get a character idea and go, right, I'm going to run with that. And I'd like to play more, but it is that kind of time. Maybe when one of my campaigns ends. I do have one now. Wednesday campaign's going to end in the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to be launching a new one, but they don't know what it is yet. And I keep feeding them false information, which is wonderful. But maybe after that, I'll be looking and saying, right, I want to get back into playing, because these 16 characters are just sitting and crying on the app at the moment, and they desperately want to become alive.
Yeah. I don't like playing, I think.
Really?
I think I've learned that. I got into it as a player and was like, this is awesome, this is great. And instantly was so obsessed with it that playing isn't enough. I've got to wait till next week and to look at it again.
Yeah.
No, I just don't like it. And so I have played as other people sometimes want to DM. And I sit there thinking, I don't like this. I'm only playing a fifth of what I do when I'm a DM. Because you're always playing, you know what I mean? You've got to spread the game with everyone else, and I just didn't enjoy it. So I think I'm a perma DM by choice now. Yeah, and I'm all right with that.
But we need people like that. The community lacks the people who will step up and say, not only will I DM, but I'm happy to long-term DM. I know a lot of people will do a one-shot, and then they won't run a one-shot for a year or two afterwards, and they're kind of like, oh no, I prefer being the player. So people who can be, I'll be your forever DM. We need them. We need them.
I have players who have decided, or at my table, or in their own away from my table, said, oh, I'm going to run this for some friends, And then session 1 goes, and I get the message, "Oh, how do you do it? I now appreciate, you know what I mean, that it's hard. My players
Yeah.
just don't take the bait. They're not going on the mission that they're meant to do, and it's, you know what I mean, it's frustrating. So how do you deal with people who don't follow the story and just wing it?"
Yeah, I've got a very weird, unstructured mind. I've always enjoyed telling stories. So if things are going awry, I just make stuff up and pray to God that someone is taking notes because they're going to come back to this in 3 weeks' time and say to me, "Oh, we're traveling back to so and so to meet the shopkeeper, da da da," and I go, "Oh yes, of course," and he will be happy to see you. And I'm going, "Oh my God!" So I make things up. It was the third run through of Lost Mines of Fandelver because I've run that. I'm coming to the end of the 5th time I've run that now, and I'm going to shelf it because I'm about done with that. I've homebrewed a lot into that. But in the first session, they get to the goblin ambush. They see the dead horses, and the Tabaxi player just went, "Right, how about Tabaxi Rogue, of course, went, how about we just nick the cart and go off somewhere else?" And my brain just went,
Yeah, that's not the point of it, yeah.
that was the one where I just went, if you want to do this, you're gonna have to give me till next week. And that was the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But that's the only time. Otherwise, I'll just throw in a random NPC or the invisible goblin or whatever comes to mind, just to kind of swing things back round and give them a bit of filler while they try and work themselves out.
Yeah, I think the best fillers are the ones you don't know the answer to. There's a guy cooking something under a tree. He offers you to sit down and eat with him.
Yeah.
And that's all you've got. And they sit down and they engage. And yeah, it's a proper, "Oh, what are you doing around here?" "Oh, I'm just from this travel." And yet, next thing you know, things are coming out your mouth. And it fills, 40 minutes could fill another whole session. But I do enjoy those, but you've always got to swing it back to the plan you initially had because you spent so much time on it, and it leads to this, it leads to this. It's good to have a break. It's good to be tested. I think it's good for your mental acuity,
Yeah.
But it's also at times fairly stressful when you're like, take the damn bait.
Yeah. The party that will insist on returning to Neverwinter, even though they've got very little gold because they want to buy more supplies. And it's kind of like, we have been in Neverwinter for 2 sessions now. You still don't have the money. You can't earn the money. And you're all level 1, level 2. So you're rubes, and the shopkeepers realise it. There's Neverwinter prices because things are more expensive there than out in the country because you've got a static population with lots of money, and you kind of move on now. Go back to your storyline. Go back.
And my players, when they're going to magic item shop and there's some old dude running it, and they're like, "If we kill this guy, we've got everything in the shop." And you're like, "Oh yeah, that's true." Well,
on the other hand, yeah,
invisible servants, maybe
a magic shop, so he full aware that someone's going to try and do him over at some point.
Exactly.
I wouldn't risk it.
Exactly, yeah. He's not stupid. He's got all these magic items probably around his belt. It's like this guy can do anything, but when he first said that, I'm like, that hadn't occurred to me, that you could just shoplift all sorts of really cool stuff. I do love a magic item shop. I do love giving out magic items that break my game. I don't know why. That's what I would want. I would want to have not just a normal sword. I want to have all these magical superhero-y stuff, But it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to actually be a DM then, though, because they're like, I just superpower my way through all these guards you've put against me. Problem. So, what are your DM struggles? What would you say you're worst at?
Actually, I'm amazing.
Right. That's all right then.
But no, sometimes I don't think ahead to my own choices. So I awarded a player a dagger of warning, and that decision has haunted me ever since.
Does it glow? Does it give them something?
It tingles, and it tingles for the whole party. Everyone knows when there's a threat coming. So I've had to think on my feet and go, right, okay, I'm going to add some more traps. I'm going to add things that aren't initially a threat until you get close enough to interact with them. And by the time you're close enough, whilst you can't be surprised, you're not getting 60 foot's worth of warning to get a free attack opportunity on them. Or for a nice little while, the character was turned to stone by Medusa. So it completely removed, and then they hit level 9, and the cleric got full restoration and went back, and now the wizard and his wonderful dagger of warning is back in the game. So yeah. Sometimes I've done something and gone, okay, but I don't retcon. My games are no retcon, so that's it.
No, I agree. I also think that if they have an item like that and the bad guys of the towns see this thing, they must all be thinking, well, I'm having that. Just like when they see a wizard with some cool thing on their belt, they're like, I'll be taking that in 10 minutes. So that can become a struggle. Like, I gave them the deck of many things when I ran Wildly on the Witchlight. And, I mean, broke the game is an understatement. But at least in the actual book of many things that came out, there's anyone who's died at the hand of the deck go to this certain place called the Garden of Decay, and all they are bothered about is chasing down every deck in the universe, and they get stronger and stronger. And eventually, I got the bloody thing off them. You know what I mean? They were like, we don't stand a chance, just have it back. But that's all I'd say to literally take these things back. Let you had your fun. Now I'm gonna find a way to get it back. What about DM hacks? What are your top tips for new DMs or intermediates?
Don't stress. I've met a lot of people who say, I'd like to DM, but it seems really stressful. Or, I don't know all the rules. And things like that. And it's kind of like, it's mostly the stress about the small things that is stopping you taking the opportunity. I will hands up admit, I have not read the whole of the Dungeon Master's Guide. When I've needed aspects, I've dipped into it. When I've needed aspects to refresh from the player's handbook, I dip back into it. I know DMs who know it almost word for word. I don't run like that. And I think that's what's stopping some DMs getting into running games, is that they're kind of fearful that they're going to say something and someone's going to sit there and go, actually, I think you'll find on page 250, the Dungeon Master's Guide says this. In which case, remember, you're the DM, and you can just go, so?
That's my response, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I've had people go, oh, well, I didn't know that does that. And I've gone, yeah, it's a named character. It can do it. That's the end of the conversation. You don't have to worry about players pushing back, because at the end of the day, it's as much about your fun as their fun. Yeah, you couldn't run a game without them, but they'll be sitting at home without you. So if you're not having fun as the DM, then, find out what's going to make it fun for you. And if that's just saying, no, you know what, I'm going to homebrew things, fine. Do it. Trust your instincts.
So in combat, how do you track your monsters? Have you got a card? Do you use an app?
For kind of stats and everything, it's just bits of paper, but on the table, because I print off maps. And some of them get quite big. The largest one I've run at the moment is 25 sheets of A3. So it's a huge map.
God,
but I love me a standee figure. Little plastic standees on the 1-inch base. And all my maps are scaled up to that. So I get figurines I buy mostly from a company called Arc Knight, which is a company in America. And I've just got loads of their standees. And I shuffle through them and go, oh, yeah, I'm going to need 5 of those, 10 of those, random assortment. When I can't do that, I print off cardboard stuff. I found on Reddit a really good guy who just uploaded Shattered Obelisk, all the chapters with all the monsters to print off for free. And you just cut them out. And in my case, I laminate them, stick them in a couple of bulldog clips, and it goes on the board.
Mm.
And I like that visualization. I like running a map. I like my players being able to see what they're facing, the monsters, so that there's that. I feel it breeds a better involvement and a better depth with the situation, because not everyone is as strong with mental imagery as other players are. So giving them something to focus on is really useful.
Yeah, I tend to fire the actual pictures of the monsters to my TV, and I'll put a proxy on the table.
Yeah.
What's either a coin numbered or a Warhammer figure or something I've got in the vague sense of what they're fighting. I often get the sizes wrong. I'll put a 5 foot one round down and then realise it should be 4 squares. So I'll just grab 3 other figures and say, look, it's that big, but it's the guy on the TV. Yeah. So where do you get your inspiration?
As he points at the bookshelf behind him.
Let's have a look then. Give us the tour of your bookshelf now. I'm interested.
I mean, the bookshelf goes up, the bookshelf goes down, and my house has very high roofs. I've got a cupboard which is 7 foot tall, which is just boxes of stacked books, and I've been reading fantasy since dot, and so I get a lot of inspiration from that, from TV shows, from old 80s films, because the old 80s cartoons were such a mix of fantasy and sci-fi, things like He-Man and Brave Star, Thundercats, all of that. It was sword and sorcery with the tech aspect, and so things just pop into your head and you go, oh, that'll be fun. And then you get older and you go, oh yeah, I can add aspects of that to a game. And recently I've been thinking, I wonder what would happen if in Postman Pat everything was horribly wrong and it was on a midwinter's night and people are going missing around the village of Greendale, and I'm going, right, okay, I've got to try and create a one-shot around Postman Pat, and it all going horrific. So it's books, it's television, it's film. There's so much inspiration, and it's what I say to people when they go to me. Oh, how did you come up with that? I say, I read.
Yeah.
And I hated reading as a kid. Can't be without it now.
So give us some highlights from your shelves. I'm interested.
I have, in a box set down beside me, I've got The Witcher. I've got the Rivers of London series by Ben Natch, who's an English author. The Fated by Benedict Jacker. Those are Paranatural London. I've got Sandman Slim. I've got Patricia Briggs. I've got Inspector Hobbs. Right up the top, I've got things like the Dresden Files.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that. It's just, a lot of it is paranatural, but the book that got me hooked into reading was Dracula. And I love me a bit of Curse of Strahd.
Yeah, is that the Strahd deck behind you?
Yes.
Those cards.
Yes, the Taroka deck.
Yeah, I have that.
Behind the little Strahd Lego figurine.
Oh, lovely! That's awesome. Yeah.
Because I'm getting into that, because
yeah,
I get compulsive about it, which is why I've got the dice box, the Mimic dice box, up there, and badges.
Now I can tell what that is.
And a lanyard hanging up with the 50th anniversary pin badges. Yeah, doing that, because it's not just the books and the game. There's so much about the hobby. There's the maps, everything else. So I get a little obsessive compulsive about it.
So behind your screen, what are your favourite tools? You mentioned Roll and Play Press. You can get their stuff.
Love that. Yeah.
A discount on my in my description. Everyone who wants anything.
That is like my default go-to. For a lot of other things. A lot of the time I just trawl the internet. I'll be on Reddit and looking through a D&D thing and just go, oh, there's an aspect of that I like, and so I just screenshot it, write down a few notes. It all depends also what's going on at the table at the time, what kind of game I'm playing. Recently I've always liked the older races that you don't see so much in 5th E, and things like kobolds and gnolls and things interest me. And so it's been watching other people's posts and description of things. I joined a group where they were kind of like, and kobolds are actually dog people, and I was kind of like, you what? So I went into it, and then I go, oh right, actually I'm going to add aspects of that into my game. It's kind of what catches my attention, what interests me, and I think, yeah, I can get away with shoehorning that in. That'll be fine.
Yeah, I do like going online and typing in top 100 random encounters in wilderness travel, and and it's like, oh, you meet a gnome on the road and he does this and that. And it's like, oh, that's useful. If I get stuck, I'll just throw this random piece in. So yeah, I do like the odd table, I must say. What else do I use? Just third-party books, really, with odd monsters. Like I like the Creature Codex and Tome of Beasts,
Yeah.
because my players are like, what is this? I've been playing D&D X years. I've never seen this. I'm like, yeah, it's not from the Monster Manual, is it? Just something different.
Oh, absolutely.
So, what's your feelings at the moment as it changes to this new version?
The new version, the 2024, the 5.5, 6th ed? Well,
Yeah.
do you know, actually, apathy. I am not worried about it in the least. I'm not one of those people who's gone to rush out to buy it. I might get around to buying it, but I'm not going to hurry about it. And I'm looking and saying, what's the point of buying just the player's handbook when you're going to need the Dungeon Master's Guide? Because that's going to obviously have more updates and more things. So if I was to interrupt my game halfway through and say, oh, now we're using this other book, then I'm actually only playing with half the rule set that they intend to release anyway, because it'll change with the Dungeon Master's Guide. The monsters are changing, and all my players actually care about is playing a game. They don't care whether I'm playing 2014 rules, 2024 rules. What they want to do is have a game. And so I'm not going to get into the edition wars and things like that, because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my players. And when the games that I'm running come to an end and I advertise new games, I'm going to have a full table yet again, because people want to play and they're not overly bothered what particular rule you're going to have about your spell need and concentration, or whether you can climb this wall or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I pre-ordered the lot and I'm still waiting for the physical book because it's the catastrophe that went on with them, So yeah, I have the digital versions, which is not the same as having a full book you can finger through. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm a bit in a mood with them, to be honest. But we have switched to the new rules because we're playing Vecna Eve of Ruin, where he messes with the multiverse. So it seems like, well, your characters will change every time you die and build them, and the rules are changing. Different rules seem to change every week as I look up the new version and say, well, exhaustion works like this now because of Vecna, not because of Watsy, Well, Dave, what have you got planned?
It's something I've noticed actually with the new books is people have got the new physical book, but the D&D Beyond book, the online books, have had several updates now already where they've gone, actually, we're changing this. And you're kind of like, did you rush to print a little? And that's another thing that has left me feeling apathy towards the rule changes, because until the dust settles, we don't know the shape of things to come anyway. So.
It was definitely rushed. I mean, I am a printer by trade for decades. And in January, Jeremy Croft was like, yeah, we're still asking the community about this. I'm like, you need to get printing, mate. You should. This should be finalised. Otherwise, you're going to have to just put anything down. And they did. And now they've missed out key changes, what they're now putting, like you say, on D&D Beyond. Things that alter a spell vastly between you need to concentrate or you don't. And you're like, that is an important fact that most people's books at this point don't have, but all the rest in the future will have. And so you've got two versions of the new book.
Yeah, and I get it when some people are going to go, oh, well, at least this first edition will be more of a collector's item in another 50 years.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, yeah, but I don't want to spend £35-40 on something that I'm going to have to either put sticky notes throughout correcting, or I'm going to have to say to my players, I know I've got a physical book and I've read the physical book and you're using my digital edition and we're going to have to ignore change. And if I keep on getting it wrong, what I mean is the digital edition, but I'm thinking of the physical edition. No,
Mm.
now that's more stress than I need.
Yeah.
So I'll wait. I'll wait until all the books come out. I'm more interested in the future campaigns that they're going to release.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a range of campaigns that are coming up with a book on one shots with dragons and things like that, which I'm excited for, because I think we need more campaigns rather than more rule sets.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have you got planned? Or any plans for your page or your games?
Do you know? It just kind of happens with me. It's the main effort is to say to myself every day, you must make a post
Yeah,
by
it's hard
9
work, isn't
a.m. in the morning.
it? Yeah, it's like watering a plant every day, isn't it?
Absolutely. Except the plant tends to grow faster than a page does, and so it all. Like I say, I do memes. I try and avoid posting too many memes because I'm not a meme farmer, and I never wanted to be, and I want to be more serious than that. I post about the games, so 3 times a week there's one Shattered Obelisk, one Lost Mines, and one Curse of Strahd. As long as those games run, they get a post. I share some things like Cobalt Press recently came out, their CEO and said, we're not going to use AI.
Yeah, I saw
and I
that.
thought, that's actually very interesting. I'm going to post that article and share that article around. And so a lot of it's like that. Maybe one day when both my small little creatures are full-time in school and I've got time to sit down and I go, what do I actually want to do with the page? Where am I going to go? Do I want to be some YouTube creator who's constantly doing gimmick builds and things like that? Do I want to start trying to build model terrain, which I just don't have the time to do? But would that be something? Will I suddenly come into a vast amount of lottery money and I'll be able to sponsor a lot of Kickstarters and talk about their releases all the time? I don't know. Yeah. I'm just kind of hanging on. We're now 10 months into the page, I think, and it's not doing too badly. It's got about 800 followers, so it's not doing too badly.
A lot more than my page. But
it's all right. I have posted that I'm doing another podcast. So you're already tagged, so people will be going, oh, this seems interesting. Maybe we'll check this out as well.
Yeah, well, welcome them over. Right.
Absolutely.
Dave, thanks. I'll stay in touch with you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.